Hello, good morning. I'm Addison and Ben Bocsak alongside me. Welcome to today's daily transfer roundup here on Bloodred and Liverpool.com. A double move on Leeds United was touted over the weekend, so we'll take a look at both elements of that very shortly. We're going to have a bit of a chat around Sadio Mane as well. I don't think that's the last time I'm going to be saying those words on this morning's show. But Ben, let's start with Kalvin Phillips. He's a name that has been linked with Liverpool a few times, well, I suppose across the last sort of year, 18 months, but he's come up again. Is he a player that you're a fan of? Was it a bit of a surprise to see his name being linked? I know he's been linked a lot with Manchester City lately as well.
I mean, not particularly. If Liverpool are targeting too many, Phillips is a very similar type of player. So if Liverpool do want that double pivot sort of strengthened, I think Phillips will be a good option. Perhaps the only surprise is that Liverpool, I know Leeds United will want a lot of money for him, and Liverpool don't tend to go for those kind of deals. They tend to go for like the more under the radar names. But I think Phillips would be a decent option if he is available and if Liverpool can get him for the right price.
Yeah, the right price is the crucial thing, isn't it? It's a sort of around 60 million or so that's kind of been touted. That's probably what you'd expect, really, for an English player, that kind of age, the sort of teams who are interested in him. I suppose it's a lot less than what West Ham would want for Declan Rice, at least, but it's still quite a lot of money, that, isn't it?
Yeah, 60 million does feel like a bit of a steep one for Liverpool, especially because Tchouaméni is a few years younger and he was touted around for around the same price, whereas Phillips is sort of around the age where Liverpool probably won't be able to think of him that much long term. He's not. He is kind of hitting his prime, whereas Tchouaméni, I think, would have had a few years to hit his prime and could have developed more on the club. So it feels less like an FSG signing for sure for 60 million. But if Liverpool can potentially get him for maybe 40 with add-ons or something like that, then I don't think that would necessarily be a bad deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a comment there about Gavi at Barcelona. Reports that Liverpool have put a 42 million bid in for him. I think the suggestion is that would be his release clause, isn't it? I'd be surprised if Liverpool had gone for him. You can see why they might be interested, but I think the latest reports in Spain suggesting that Barcelona possibly getting a new contract for him, which would have a massive release clause in it. But Barcelona also, Ben, being linked with Rafinha. He's the other sort of Leeds United element to this. Probably a little bit more likely, I would say, than Kalvin Phillips in terms of the kind of likelihood to happen this summer. But again, he's been linked with Barcelona a fair bit. There's been a bit of chatter around him in terms of Liverpool as well. I think he's certainly a good player, isn't he, Rafinha?
Yeah, I really like Rafinha. I think he's done very well. I like the way he cuts him from the right wing. I like that he does have that flair about him, the sort of Luis Diaz type skill, and he's very direct. He does look like someone who would suit Liverpool very well in the wing. And if Mane is leaving, I think he would be a solid replacement. And like you said, it is a more of a realistic transfer because towards the end of the season, it very much felt like Rafinha kind of knew this was his last few games for Leeds, and it looks like he's prepared to move on. Obviously, Barcelona look like the favourites at the moment, but the financial situation of the club could, put a dampen on that deal, and then Liverpool could potentially pounce. And I think Liverpool would do well to pounce on him as well. It would be a smart move.
Yeah, he's certainly a good player and one that's got Premier League experience as well. I know Leeds paid I should say, around 17 million, I think, for him, didn't they, a couple of years ago. So he's probably ready for the next step in his career. But in terms of the price tag for him, it's kind of similar, isn't it, to Kalvin Phillips from what we've read. It seems to be that they want around 60 million for him as well. We said it was quite a big, steep price tag for Kalvin Phillips. But what about Rafinha? If you had to pay that sort of money for him, is that something that Liverpool should be interested in, do you think?
I'd be more inclined to pay that sort of money for Raphinha just because he is an attacker, and attackers do come at more of a premium. Especially Liverpool will be looking for around 30 to 40 million for Sadio Mane, and it seems like if Liverpool are going to go for an attacker, then they can pretty much pay most of that Raphinha fee with just the departure of Mane. And I think because of that, it kind of makes more sense to in the Raphinha deal rather than the Phillips deal, where there might be better options in the market. Whereas in terms of Raphinha, when I look at the market, I think he's Premier League proven. He's done it for Brazil on the international stage, and I think there's not many options who are as good as him and who are available for that much money.
Yeah, no, for sure. Certainly not sort of Premier League proven as well. I think that's possibly going to be crucial. But it is interesting that he plays on the same side as Mohamed Salah, isn't it? We don't quite know what's going to happen with him yet. More speculation coming out again, linking him with Barcelona today. And yeah, we're sort of no closer to knowing where Liverpool and he are at in terms of a new contract. I mean, I suppose that's something to think about as well, isn't it? Because if you are going to lose Sadio Mane this summer and possibly Mohamed Salah next summer, probably Raphinha then does become a bit more of an option because he does play, of course, mainly off that right-hand side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think Liverpool are pretty much fine on the left side, and I don't think they will be going for another left winger if Mane does leave. Going for a right winger makes more sense, like you said, especially because Salah's future is so uncertain. Raphinha is kind of at a similar age to Diaz and Jota. He's just about to sort of hit his prime years, and he could still be a long-term option for Liverpool. And in that sense, I could see him potentially being a replacement for Salah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. With both of those Leeds players as well, be interesting to see if there is any interest from Leeds again in Takumi Minamino or any other Liverpool players that potentially could help to drive those price tags down. But that's something to kind of think about a little bit later on in the summer, I think. For now, let's finish with a bit more of a chat around Sadio Mane. It seems to be dragging on. It's already gone on for what seems like forever. He promised an update after the Champions League final. He's spoken 2 or 3 times since then. The news last night from the Times was that Bayern Munich had made an offer of £21 million. Liverpool obviously rejected that, like you said before, looking for around £40 million. So they considered it well below their valuation for him. But I don't know, he seems to be talking every day at the moment, Ben, about what he's going to do without actually telling anyone what he's going to do. You kind of just want him to say it one way or another, and you kind of get that resolution, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen in the next day or two. It seems like it's going to drag on again. I
mean, I think he does have a lot of respect for Liverpool, so maybe that's why he's kind of reticent to make a remark. And it also feels like he wouldn't be too disappointed if he is to stay at the club for another year. He does like being in Liverpool. Liverpool are a team who are going to challenge for the titles again next season. And I mean, Bayern's bid is very interesting and is way below, I think, Mane's valuation. I think it's around the same price Liverpool got Thiago for, but of course, it was a different case for Thiago. He's a midfielder. Midfielders don't tend to cost as much. Mane is an attacker, and he's probably one of the best attackers in the world right now. So even though he's only got 1 year left on his contract, Bayern will have to pay a lot more. And obviously, Lewandowski is another one who's up there with Mane. In fact, he's a bit older than Mane, and he's also got 1 year left on his contract. And Bayern are looking for a lot more for him. So it's interesting that they made such a low bid for Mane when they're kind of in the same situation. So they should know more, and they should be valuing their transfer targets just as much as their top star, because Mane is meant to be their top star if he does arrive at Bayern.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting one, isn't it? They're going to have to up their bid, but you suggest that the fact that they've gone in at that kind of Thiago level, they probably know that they're going to have to go considerably higher. And of course, the other thing as well, which I didn't mention before in terms of the Sadio Mane comments, is that Liverpool have to find a replacement before they can let him go as well. It's not like, in some ways, it probably wouldn't help Liverpool if he came out and said he's definitely going to Bayern Munich, because then negotiations then become very difficult for the player that they try and replace him with. But I'm sure there'll be plenty more rumours over the next few days. We'll have all the latest, of course, all the analysis over on liverpool.com. So make sure you're checking out the website regularly for that. For now, though, thank you to Ben for joining me, for you at home as well for watching and for listening. We'll see you very soon.